My name is Clara Bennett. I'm 29 years old, and 3 weeks before my wedding, my fiancé's mother placed an envelope on the dinner table like she was offering dessert. If anyone asked me what actually destroyed my marriage before it began, I wouldn't say it was when I opened that envelope. I'd say it was when I looked up and realized the man I loved was going to let me sit there alone. Up until that night, I thought I knew exactly where my life was going. I had been with Ethan Ward, 27, for 4 years, engaged for 1. We weren't dramatic. We didn't break up and get back together. We were the kind of couple people described as solid. Same goals, same rhythm, same future. He was calm, grounded, the kind of man who made everything feel steady. I used to think that was strength. Now I know sometimes it's just what it looks like when someone learns how to stand still, while someone else does the damage for them. His family never set off alarms, not real ones. His father, Roger, was quiet, always just slightly removed, like he preferred observing to participating. His mother, Diane, was the opposite. She controlled the room in subtle ways. Soft voice when she wanted to sound reasonable, a perfectly timed smile, little comments that sounded harmless but always left something behind. I noticed things. I just named them differently. Protective, traditional, a little too focused on money, a little too involved. When you love someone, you adjust your vision to fit their world. Red flags become quirks. Discomfort becomes family dynamics. 3 weeks before the wedding, we went to his parents' house for dinner to finalize last details. I still remember the smell in that kitchen. Butter, roasted meat, something sweet, cinnamon, maybe, coming from the dessert, warm lighting, carefully set table. Everything felt normal. Safe, even. We talked about seating charts, last-minute RSVPs, whether one of his cousins might bring a +1. Diane asked if ivory tablecloths might look better than white. Ethan was scrolling through guest updates. I remember laughing about someone inevitably getting drunk near the dance floor. Small things, ordinary things, the kind that make you lower your guard without realizing it. Then dessert was served, and Diane placed an envelope in front of me. Not dramatically, not aggressively. Just a smooth, deliberate slide across the table. I glanced at it, then at her. "What's this?" She smiled, just enough for it to look polite, not enough to feel warm. Just something we should discuss before the wedding. I assumed it was a vendor issue, a payment detail, something mildly annoying, but manageable. I opened it. There was a printed sheet inside. Structured, itemized, a total at the bottom. I read the title once, then again, because my brain refused to accept what it was seeing. Parental investment reimbursement. I scanned down. Food and housing, 18 years. Private school tuition. Extracurriculars. College contribution. Miscellaneous expenses. Total $10,000. Payment due before the wedding date. I laughed. A real laugh, the kind that comes out before your brain catches up. "I'm sorry," I said, still half laughing. "This is a joke, right?" No one laughed with me. Roger stared into his coffee like it suddenly required his full attention. Diane didn't blink. Ethan didn't move. The air at the table shifted so quickly I could feel it on my skin. I slowly set the paper down. "Wait," I said, "this isn't a joke?" "No," Diane replied calmly. "It's not." I looked at her, then back at the paper, then at Ethan. I waited. I waited for him to laugh, to shake his head, to say, "Mom, stop." He didn't. Diane rested her spoon against her plate. "Parents invest a great deal into raising a child," she said smoothly. "We've put time, money, and effort into making Ethan the man he is today. It's only fair that you acknowledge that, especially since you'll be benefiting from it." I blinked. "By paying you $10,000? Her expression didn't change. "That doesn't even begin to cover everything." I stopped looking at her. I turned to Ethan. That was the moment that still mattered. "Ethan?" My voice wasn't loud, but it carried everything. He inhaled, brief, controlled. "Mom's not wrong," he said quietly. Something cold slid down my spine. "I'm sorry, what?" He shifted slightly, like he was forcing himself to stay composed. "My parents sacrificed a lot for me. You know that. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am." "That's what parents are supposed to do," I said. "Raise their children, not bill people for it." Diane exhaled sharply. "You're being disrespectful." I ignored her. "Ethan, do you actually agree with this?" This time he didn't look away. "You're looking at it the wrong way. This isn't about money. It's about respect." "Respect?" I repeated. "You're sitting here while your mother hands me an invoice to marry you, and that's respect?" Diane answered for him. "If you truly care about Ethan, you would understand that this is a way to show appreciation." I turned to her. "You want me to pay to prove I love him? To prove you're not entering this family to take advantage?" That landed harder than anything else. I placed my hands on the table to steady myself. I paid most of the venue deposit. No response. I've been covering a significant portion of the wedding. Diane gave a small shrug. And after the wedding, you'll have a good husband. I looked at Ethan again, and this time, I wasn't searching for reassurance. I was looking for truth. I'm going to ask you one more time, I said. Do you actually stand by this? He straightened slightly. I think it's reasonable. Silence stretched between us. There are moments when you can feel something break inside you, even if no one else hears it. That was the sound of trust ending. I see, I said. Diane gestured lightly toward the paper. We don't need it tonight, but it should be handled before the wedding. I didn't look at her. If I don't pay? Ethan answered. Then there won't be a wedding. The clock in the hallway ticked. Not loudly, but I heard it. Not because I was shocked by the ultimatum, but because of how easily he said it. No hesitation. No shame. Just a condition. Like everything we had could be reduced to terms on a page. I sat there for a few more seconds. Then I reached for my phone, glancing at the screen like I was checking my banking app. Diane smiled satisfied. I almost felt sick realizing I had once imagined calling her family. I stood up. Okay, I said calmly. Let me go get my checkbook from the car. Diane leaned back, pleased. See? That's much more reasonable. I didn't respond. I looked at Ethan one last time. He exhaled, like tension had just left his body. Like this was over. Like I just needed a moment to process before doing the right thing. That was the worst part. Not that they asked, but that they truly believed I would say yes. I walked out of the house. The door closed softly behind me. The night air hit me harder than I expected. Cold, sharp, real. I got into my car, closed the door, put my hands on the steering wheel. For a few seconds, I didn't start the engine. I just sat there, looking straight ahead, listening to my heartbeat, the house glowing behind me. I walked into that dinner as a bride-to-be. I walked out as someone who had just seen the future and refused to step into it. I picked up my phone and opened my chat with Sophie, my maid of honor. I typed, "Wedding's off. Call everyone. I need out tonight." I hit send, started the engine, and drove away without looking back. I didn't cry that night. That's the part people always expect when they hear this story, that I drove away and broke down somewhere dramatic, shaking, gasping, calling someone to say I didn't understand what just happened. I didn't. I drove to Sophie's place. She opened the door before I even knocked. She must have seen my text and understood the tone behind it because she didn't ask questions right away. She just stepped aside and let me in. "Wine or something stronger?" she asked. Stronger. By the time the others arrived, Lena, Brooke, and Mia, I had already told Sophie everything. Not the emotional version, just the facts. The envelope, the number, the ultimatum. By the time I finished, the room was quiet in a way that felt heavier than shouting. Brooke was the first to break. "They tried to what?" "Invoice me," I said, "for raising him." Mia let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "That's not a family, that's a business model." Sophie didn't laugh. "And Ethan?" she asked carefully. I looked down at the glass in my hand. He agreed. That changed the energy completely, because that was the real betrayal. Not Diane, not the ridiculous number. Him. No one said it out loud, but I could feel the shift. This wasn't something that could be fixed with a conversation. This wasn't stress or miscommunication. This was alignment. He chose a side, and it wasn't mine. We didn't go out that night like I had planned. We stayed in, ordered food, opened another bottle, then another. At some point, someone put on music. At some point, I stopped listening. I wasn't sad. Not yet. I was clear. Like something had snapped into focus so sharply that there was no room left for doubt. By the time I fell asleep on Sophie's couch, I had already made my decision. Monday morning, I woke up before everyone else. For a few seconds, I forgot. Then it all came back in one clean, precise wave. I didn't check my phone. I didn't give myself time to hesitate. I opened my laptop, and I started canceling my wedding. The venue was first. Riverside Manor, 2-year waiting list. $8,000 just for the space. The place Ethan had told me he'd dreamed about since he was a kid, his mom's favorite story to tell. "They only take a few couples a year," she'd said once, like it was a badge of honor. I called them. "Hi, this is Clara Bennett. I'm calling about a booking 3 weeks from now." There was a pause, then recognition. "Oh, yes, of course. Is everything all right?" "No," I said. "I need to cancel." Another pause. "Are you sure? You're still within the final window, so you would only receive a partial refund." "I understand." The woman on the other end lowered her voice slightly. "Can I ask what happened?" I looked out the window. "Let's just say the groom's family tried to charge me for raising him." Silence. Then, "I'm so sorry." "Not polite sorry. Real sorry. We'll process the cancellation immediately. You'll get 70% of your deposit back." "Thank you." When I hung up, I sat there for a second. That was it. The first cut, cleaner than I expected. After that, it became a system. Photographer canceled. DJ canceled. Florist canceled. Each call easier than the last. Each confirmation email like a door closing behind me. The cake was the only thing I couldn't get refunded. $600. Custom design. Non-refundable. The bakery asked what I wanted to do with it. I thought about it for maybe 2 seconds. Deliver it to a nursing home, I said. Excuse me? Anyone. Your choice. Just make sure someone enjoys it. There was a pause. Then a soft, surprised laugh. That's actually really kind. I didn't respond. Kind wasn't what I was going for. I just didn't want that cake to exist for me anymore. By early afternoon, everything was done. The wedding was gone. Not postponed. Not on hold. Gone. That's when I finally picked up my phone. Do Not Disturb had been on since Sunday night. I turned it off. The screen lit up instantly. Notifications stacked on top of each other so fast it almost looked like a glitch. Missed calls. Texts. Voicemails. I didn't open any of them. Not yet. Instead, I typed one message. Simple. Precise. Final. Regarding your mother's invoice and your ultimatum, I've made my decision. The wedding is canceled. Your belongings have been packed and delivered to your parents' house. Do not contact me again. I stared at it for a second. Then I sent it and turned my phone back to silent. The reaction didn't take long. Even without opening anything, I could see the calls coming in. Ethan. Again. Then Diane. Then a number I didn't recognize, probably Chloe, his sister. Then Ethan again. I flipped the phone face down on the table, let it vibrate itself out. For 4 years, I had been available. Responsive. Present. Understanding. That version of me didn't exist anymore. Around 3 in the afternoon, Sophie came into the kitchen. Your phone's been going insane, she said. I know. You gonna check it? Not yet. She leaned against the counter, studying me. You're really calm. I picked up one of the printed cancellation confirmations, ran my finger along the edge. I'm not calm, I said. I'm just done. There's a difference. Calm means things are under control. Done means you've stopped trying. By evening, the silence I created started doing its job. Because people like Diane don't handle silence well. They escalate. They push. They try to regain control. And people like Ethan, they panic when the person who always stayed doesn't. I didn't need to read the messages to know the pattern. Confusion first, then anger, then negotiation, maybe even guilt. But I wasn't part of that cycle anymore. For the first time in 4 years, they didn't get access to me. That night we did go out. Same group, same girls. Different reason. Sophie raised her glass. To canceled weddings, she said. Mia smirked. And dodged disasters. Brooke added, and never paying 10 grand to marry a man. They all laughed. I did too. But mine was quieter. Because I wasn't thinking about what I lost. I was thinking about what almost happened. 3 weeks. That's all that stood between me and legally tying myself to a family that thought love came with invoices. 3 weeks. I lifted my glass. To timing, I said. Because that was the only thing that saved me. Not luck. Not strength. Timing. I took a sip, and for the first time since Sunday, I felt something close to relief. Not complete. Not yet. But enough to know. I had made the right decision. And somewhere, in a house I would never step into again. They were just starting to realize it. Tuesday didn't ease in. It detonated. I made the mistake of turning my phone back on during lunch. 73 missed calls. 156 texts. The number didn't even register at first. It just looked excessive, like spam. Then I opened one. Ethan. Clara, where are you? This isn't funny anymore. Another. You can't just cancel everything without talking to me. Another. I'm coming to your office if you don't answer. I stopped scrolling, because the tone was already shifting. Not concern. Control. Diane's messages were worse. Not frantic. Calculated. Diane, this is extremely immature behavior. A real woman would have handled this with respect. Next one. We are willing to be reasonable. $5,000 would be acceptable if paid before the original wedding date. I stared at the screen. She was negotiating, like this was still a transaction. Like the only mistake I had made was not responding to her offer. Even Roger had texted. Roger, can we talk? Just the two of us. Let's handle this like adults. That one almost got a reply. Almost. Then I remembered him sitting there, looking into his coffee, saying nothing. Silence isn't neutral when it matters. It's a choice. I locked my phone and set it down. Lunch break over. I went back to work, or at least I tried to, because at 2:17 p.m., my receptionist called my extension. Clara, there's a woman here asking for you. Something in her voice made me sit up straighter. What kind of woman? Angry. I closed my eyes for half a second. Of course. Is it Diane Ward? Yes. I stood up. Call security. There was a pause. Are you sure? Yes. I hung up before she could finish. I didn't go out to the lobby. I didn't give her the scene she wanted, but I heard it anyway. Her voice carried. Sharp. Loud. Controlled at first, then slipping. She owes me money. This is fraud. You can't just ruin my son's future like this. The words echoed down the hallway. Doors opened. People looked. My coworkers. My boss. People who had smiled at me in the break room that morning. Now hearing my almost mother-in-law scream about money like we were in some kind of public dispute. I stayed in my office, sat down, opened my laptop, and kept typing. Because that's the thing about humiliation. It only works if you participate in it. 10 minutes later, security escorted her out. I didn't see it, but I heard the final burst as she was dragged toward the exit. You're a pathetic excuse for a woman. You don't deserve him. The door slammed. Silence followed. A different kind this time. Heavy. Awkward. Curious. My boss knocked once before stepping in. You okay? I didn't look up from my screen. I will be. He hesitated. That was something. I nodded. Family disagreement. He let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Well, if that's family, I'm glad mine just argues about politics. I allowed myself a small smile. Same. He lingered for a second longer, then left. And just like that, it was over. At least at work. By the time I got home, or what used to be home, it was already dark. I didn't go inside. I stayed in my car, opened the app, checked the camera, and there they were, Ethan and Chloe, standing outside my door. Ethan looked wrecked. Not composed, not controlled. His hair was messy, his posture off, like something had been pulled out from under him and he didn't know how to stand without it. Chloe was the opposite. Sharp, aggressive, pacing. They'd been there for a while. I could tell by the way Ethan kept checking his phone. By the way Chloe's movements had that restless edge of someone repeating the same argument for the 10th time. Then, bang. Chloe hit the door. Clara, open the door. Another hit. This is ridiculous. Ethan tried to calm her. Chloe, stop. No, she doesn't get to just disappear like this. She hit the door again. Harder. You think you can just cancel everything and hide? This is exactly what guilty people do. Guilty? I almost laughed. Ethan stepped closer to the camera, closer to the door, his voice softer. Clara, please, just talk to me. There it was. The shift. Not anger anymore. Not control. Panic. Because for the first time, he didn't know where I was. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know how to reach me. I leaned back in my seat, watched it play out on my phone. Detached. Like it wasn't my life. Like it was just something unfolding on a screen. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't them. It was Sophie. Sophie, we're all here. Where are you? I typed back. Me. In my car. Watching the show. A second later. Sophie, you better not be alone. Send location. I smiled faintly. Sent it. Started the engine. And drove away. By the time I got to Sophie's place, everyone was already there. Same couch. Same table. Different energy. I walked in, held up my phone. They're at my door. Again? Mia asked. Still. We gathered around the screen. Watched as Chloe kept yelling. As Ethan kept knocking. As nothing changed. Miguel, who had joined us this time, shook his head. Wait, let me get this straight. He pointed at the screen. Her mom tried to charge you for raising him. Yep. And he backed her up. Yep. And now they're acting like you're the problem? I nodded. He leaned back. That's insane. Derek, lawyer, calm, always analyzing, took a sip of his drink. That's not just insane, he said. That's leverage behavior. I looked at him. Meaning? Meaning they thought you wouldn't leave. He tapped the table lightly. They believed they had enough emotional control over you to make you comply. I let that settle, because he wasn't wrong. That was the part that made everything click. This wasn't a random explosion. This was calculated, timed. 3 weeks before the wedding. Maximum pressure, minimum escape. Except, I didn't follow the script. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Hi, this is Riverside Manor. I straightened slightly. Yes? We just wanted to confirm you canceled your booking yesterday, correct? Yes. There was a pause. Your fiancé called earlier. He was quite distressed. Asked if we could reinstate the reservation. I closed my eyes briefly. And what did you tell him? That the cancellation was final. Another pause. And your date has already been given to another couple. I exhaled slowly. Good. Good. Yes. Because now it wasn't just me who had walked away. The future they assumed was locked in. Was gone. I hung up. Looked back at the screen. Chloe and Ethan were gone. The hallway outside my apartment empty again. Quiet. Like nothing had happened. But something had. Something irreversible. Later that night, scrolling through messages I still hadn't opened, I saw a notification from a different source. A forwarded post. From Ethan's account. I didn't click it. But the preview showed enough. Some people can't handle strong families. I let out a quiet breath. Projection. Always projection. I locked my phone, set it aside, and leaned back into the couch. Because the pattern was clear now. They weren't stopping. They were escalating. And for the first time since Sunday, I realized this wasn't just about ending a relationship. This was about containing something. Something that didn't accept boundaries, didn't understand no, didn't stop when it should. I picked up my drink, took a slow sip, and said mostly to myself, let them try. Because now, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was watching. And that made all the difference. A week later, they showed up again. But this time it was different. No pounding. No shouting. No audience. Just two figures on my camera at 8:02 a.m. Ethan and his father. No Diane. That alone told me everything. I stood in my kitchen for a full minute before deciding to open the door. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted to be certain I wasn't opening it out of habit. 4 years trains you to respond automatically. To soften. To listen. To fix. I wasn't that version of myself anymore. So when I opened the door, I stayed in the doorway. I didn't step aside. I didn't invite them in. Roger spoke first. Clara, can we talk? Just 5 minutes. His voice was careful, measured, like someone trying to keep a situation from breaking further. I checked the time on my phone. 2 minutes, I said, starting now. Ethan looked worse than the last time I saw him. Dark circles, unshaven, clothes that didn't look chosen, just worn. He stepped forward slightly. I'm sorry. No buildup. No defense. Just that. I waited. He swallowed. Mom's idea was insane. I see that now. I didn't respond. I was under pressure, he continued quickly. She said if you really loved me, you'd understand. That it was a test. You backed her up, I cut in. He flinched. I know. You said pay or no wedding. I know. Silence. Then, can't we fix this? He asked. We can go to therapy. We can start over. I'll set boundaries with her. I should have done that from the beginning. The words were right. That's what made them dangerous. Because a week ago, I would have wanted to believe them. I leaned slightly against the door frame. Ethan, I said quietly, you tried to charge me to marry you. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Roger stepped in, raising a hand slightly. Look, Diane is not the problem, I said, turning to him. Both of them paused. Because they expected me to blame her. It would have been easier, cleaner, if this was just one unreasonable mother. I looked back at Ethan. You are. His face shifted. Not anger. Not yet. Something closer to disbelief. You sat there, I continued, while she handed me that invoice. You listened to her explain it, and when I asked you, you agreed. I was trying to keep the peace. No, I said, you were choosing her. Roger exhaled quietly, like he'd heard that truth before but never said it out loud. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. So you sided with the person asking me for money. That's not fair. It's exactly fair. His voice cracked slightly. I love you. There it was. The last card. The one people always think will fix everything. I held his gaze. No, I said. That hit harder than anything else. His shoulders dropped. What do you mean? You love the idea of me, I said. The version of me who says yes, who accommodates, who fits into your family without asking questions. That's not true. If you loved me, I continued, you would have shut that down immediately. You wouldn't have needed a week to figure out it was wrong. Roger looked away, because he knew. Ethan stepped closer. Too close. Please, he said. We can fix this. It got out of hand. That's all. I almost smiled. Because that's what people say when something reveals more than they wanted it to. It got out of hand. As if it was an accident. As if it wasn't a decision. I straightened. Can you also fix the venue? I asked. He blinked. What? Can you fix the fact that 200 people were invited to a wedding that no longer exists? He said nothing. Can you fix the deposits, the time, the fact that your mother showed up at my workplace screaming about money like I owed her something? His jaw tightened. Can you fix the part where she went to the police and claimed I was harassing her? That one landed. Hard. Roger's head snapped slightly toward me. She did what? I held his gaze. They told her to stop wasting their time. Silence dropped between us again. Thicker this time. Because now even Roger didn't have a script for this. Ethan shook his head slowly. I didn't know about that. I believe you, I said. And I did. Because that was the problem. He didn't know. Didn't see. Didn't step in. I can set boundaries, he said again, weaker now. I can cut her off if I have to. You should have already known how. That ended it. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Just completely. I checked my phone again. Your 2 minutes are up. Ethan stared at me, like he was waiting for something else. A crack. A hesitation. A version of me that would soften at the end. There wasn't one. Clara, he said, reaching out slightly. I stepped back. Don't. His hand stopped midair. We're done, I said. Not angry, not emotional, just final. There's no version of this where I marry into your family. There's no version where I trust you again. And there's definitely no version where I pay to do it. His eyes filled. I made a mistake. Yes, I said, you did. I held his gaze for one last second. Now you get to live with it. I started to close the door. Ethan moved forward instinctively. Clara, please. The door stopped him. Not slammed, just closed. Through the wood, I could still hear them. Muted voices. Roger trying to calm him down. Ethan saying something I couldn't make out. Then silence. Then footsteps. Fading. I didn't move right away. I stood there with my hand still on the door, feeling the weight of what had just ended. Not just the relationship, but the version of my life that had been built around it. When I finally stepped back, the apartment felt different. Quieter. But not empty. Clear. My phone buzzed on the counter. A message. From Ethan. The last one that got through before I blocked him. Ethan, we can still fix this. Please don't do this to us. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed back. I'm not doing anything to us. I'm responding to what you already did. I hit send, then blocked his number. That should have been the end. It would have been, in a normal situation. A breakup. Painful but contained. Private. But nothing about this had been normal. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I already knew Diane wasn't finished. Not even close. For 2 days after that, things went quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. The kind of silence that feels like something holding its breath. No calls. No messages. No unexpected visitors. I didn't trust it, but I accepted it. Because after everything, I needed a pause. Then Wednesday happened. At 9:12 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Something told me to pick up. Hello? Hi, is this Clara Bennett? Yes. This is Amanda from Riverside Manor. I straightened immediately. Yes? There was a pause. The kind people take when they're deciding how to phrase something carefully. We just wanted to confirm something with you regarding a new booking request tied to your previous reservation. My stomach tightened. What kind of request? A woman came in this morning, she said slowly, claimed she was the mother of the groom. She insisted the cancellation was unauthorized and attempted to reclaim the date. I closed my eyes. Of course. And? We informed her that the contract was solely under your name, that the cancellation had already been processed. Good. Another pause. She did not take that well. I'm not surprised. Amanda lowered her voice slightly. She then attempted to rebook the same date under a different name. That made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was so far past normal that there was nothing else left. Let me guess, I said. You declined. Yes, and we flagged her in our system. She won't be able to make any future bookings with us. Thank you. We also thought you should know. She caused a scene. Security had to escort her out. I leaned back against the counter. Same pattern. Different location. Escalation. I hung up. Stared at the wall for a second. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, it didn't stop. Call after call. Text after text. Notifications stacking so fast they blurred together. I unlocked the screen and froze. Save the date. Bold letters. Clean design. Elegant font. A date. 3 months from now. Same venue. Same time. Same names. Mine. And Ethan's. My grip tightened around the phone. She actually did it. She sent out a new wedding announcement to everyone. The first call I answered was my mom. Clara, what is going on? She asked, confusion bleeding through every word. I just got something about a new date. Did you two work things out? No, I said immediately. There is no wedding. But it looks official. It's not. Silence. Then, is this his mother? Yes. A long exhale on the other end. I never liked her, my mom muttered. I just didn't want to say anything before. I closed my eyes briefly. Of course. The next call was my cousin. Then my aunt. Then my grandmother. Same question. Same confusion. Same disbelief when I told them the truth. I stopped answering after the fourth one, because explaining it over and over made it real in a way that felt exhausting. So I did the only thing that made sense. I sent one message. Mass text. Clear. Final. Ethan and I are not together. There is no wedding. Any new invitations or save the dates were sent without my knowledge or consent. Please disregard them. I hit send. Watched the replies come in. Shock. Support. Questions. Anger. All of it. But at least now, the narrative wasn't just hers. An hour later, Ethan called. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. On the fourth time, I picked up. Clara, he said immediately, voice tight. I swear to you, I didn't know about this. I didn't speak. I just found out, he continued. She sent them out this morning. I tried to stop her. You didn't? Silence. I didn't know, he repeated. I believe you. That surprised him. You do? Yes, because again, that was the problem. She's lost it, he said. I don't know what she's doing anymore. I leaned against the wall. Then you should handle it. I'm trying. No, I cut in. You're reacting. There's a difference. He exhaled sharply. People are calling me too, asking what's going on. I don't even know what to tell them. Tell them the truth. And what's that? That your mother fabricated a wedding that doesn't exist. He went quiet. Because saying it out loud makes it impossible to soften. Clara, his voice dropped. Please don't make this worse. I almost laughed. I'm not making anything worse. You're threatening legal action. Yes, that landed. Hard. If I get one more message from her, I said calmly, or if she sends out anything else using my name, I will file for a restraining order. Don't do that, he said quickly. Then stop her. I can't control her. Exactly. Silence. Heavy. Final. I'm sorry, he said again. I didn't respond. Because sorry didn't fix this. Sorry didn't undo anything. Sorry was just late. I have to go, I said. Clara, wait. I hung up. That evening, Roger texted. Roger, I'm handling Diane. Please don't take legal action. This has been a wake-up call. I stared at the message, then typed back. If there is one more attempt to contact me or spread false information, I will proceed legally. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, Roger understood. And just like that, silence returned. Real silence this time. No calls, no messages, no unexpected drama. But I didn't relax, because people like Diane don't stop. They pause. They regroup. They come back louder. That night, Sophie handed me a drink. You okay? She asked. I nodded. For now. She studied me. You're handling this really well. I let out a slow breath. I'm not handling it, I said. I'm containing it. Because that's what this had become. Not a breakup. Not a family conflict. Something else. Something that refused to accept reality. I took a sip, set the glass down, and said quietly, if she crosses the line again, Sophie didn't let me finish. She will. I met her eyes. And for the first time since this started, I didn't feel uncertain. I felt ready. Because now, this wasn't about walking away anymore. This was about making sure she couldn't follow. She crossed the line again. Of course she did. It didn't happen all at once. That would have been easier to process. Instead, it came in pieces, small enough at first that you could almost convince yourself it wasn't escalating. Friday morning, I got an email from a vendor I didn't recognize. Subject line, Wedding Reinstatement Inquiry. I opened it. Hi, Clara. We received a message from your account asking to reconfirm your booking for the upcoming wedding. My account. My name. My details. My chest went cold. I hadn't sent anything. By noon, there were 3 more. Different vendors. Same message. Same confusion. I checked the headers. Different IPs. Different emails. All pretending to be me. By the afternoon, my HR department called me in. That was when it stopped being annoying and started being dangerous. There's been a complaint, my manager said carefully. A woman contacted us claiming you stole money from her family. I didn't even react. Because at that point, of course she did. What exactly did she say? I asked. That you took deposits for a wedding, canceled everything, and kept the money. I nodded slowly. And did she provide proof? He hesitated. No. Then there's nothing to discuss. Another pause. Then, we're not concerned, he said, but we need to document it. Of course. I handed over everything. Screenshots, emails, call logs, because by now I was already doing what Derek had told me from day one. Document everything. That night, she showed up at my parents' house. At 11, unannounced, demanding they talk sense into me. That was it. That was the moment something inside me shifted from restraint to action. The next morning, I called Derek. I'm done, I said. Good, he replied. Let's file. The restraining order process wasn't dramatic. No yelling, no big speeches, just paperwork, evidence, dates, times, patterns. A system designed to filter emotion out and look at behavior. And her behavior was undeniable. The hearing was a week later. I didn't dress up. Didn't need to. I just showed up, calm, prepared. Done. Diane walked in like she was attending a wedding. Full outfit, formal, hat, everything. For a restraining order hearing, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so perfectly her. Still performing. Still pretending reality would bend if she just played the role hard enough. When the judge reviewed the case, the room shifted. You could feel it. The moment where this stopped being family drama and became something else. Diane spoke first. Of course she did. This is a misunderstanding, she said smoothly. I've been harassed, humiliated, and... The judge raised a hand. Ma'am, I have the documentation. Silence. Then came the moment. The one that ended everything. The judge held up a printed sheet. That includes this invoice? Diane straightened slightly. Yes. You attempted to charge this woman for raising your son? It's not unreasonable, Diane said. Parents deserve compensation for their investment. The room went still. The judge blinked, once, slowly, then set the paper down. I'm granting the restraining order. Just like that. No hesitation. No debate. 1 year. No contact. No proximity. No communication. Any violation. Immediate consequences. Diane didn't take it well. She called the judge short-sighted, then biased, then something worse. Security escorted her out. Again. Ethan wasn't there. That didn't surprise me. Roger texted me later. Roger, I'm sorry for everything. She's getting help. Ethan, too. I stared at the message. Didn't reply, because there was nothing left to say. I thought that was the end. I really did. Until the next day, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then answered. Clara, a woman's voice said. This is Julie, Diane's sister. I froze slightly. I'm sorry to bother you, she continued, but I thought you should know. This isn't the first time. Something in my chest tightened. What do you mean? She told me everything. About Ethan's older brother. About an engagement years ago. About a contract Diane tried to force on that woman too. Monthly payments. Control over their marriage. The same pattern. The same logic. They left, Julie said. Got married quietly, moved away, cut contact. And Ethan? I asked. He doesn't know the real reason, she said. Diane told him the fiancée was controlling, that she isolated his brother from the family. Of course she did. Rewrite the story. Control the narrative. Same pattern. Clara, Julie said softly, you did the right thing. I closed my eyes, because that, more than anything, was what I needed to hear. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, thinking, replaying everything. Not just the dinner, but the years before it, the comments Ethan used to make. Jokes about paying up one day. The way Diane talked about money like it was a measure of love. The way Roger stayed quiet. The way I adjusted, explained, minimized. They weren't random moments. They were warnings. I just translated them into something easier to accept. 3 weeks later, everything was quiet. Actually quiet this time. No messages. No drama. No chaos. I returned the ring. $7,000. Store credit. Didn't matter. It felt like closing a loop. My friends took me out that night. Same group. Same energy. Different feeling. Not survival anymore. Closure. Miguel raised a glass. To dodging bullets. Derek smirked. And invoices. Everyone laughed. I did too. This time, fully. Later, Sophie asked me quietly, do you regret anything? I thought about it. About the time. The money. The 4 years. Then I shook my head. I regret not seeing it sooner, I said. But not leaving. Because in the end, that was the only decision that mattered. The last message I ever received was from Roger. We failed as parents. I hope you find happiness. I didn't respond. Not out of anger. But because that chapter didn't need another word. Now there's no dramatic ending. No revenge. No big moment. Just silence. And a life that didn't go the way I thought it would. But sometimes, the best outcome is the one you escape. I still have the Freedom Festival shirt my friends made. It's hanging in my closet. A reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I avoided. Because when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time, and if their mother hands you an invoice, run.